nor no notice taken, nor no clue to be got who you belong to. It's a pretty sort of thing that I should have to feed a great fellow like you, and never hope to get one penny for it, isn't it?' The boy put his hand to his head, as if he were making an effort to recollect something, and then, looking vacantly at his questioner, gradually broke into a smile, and limped away. 'I tell you what, Squeers,' remarked his wife, as the door closed, 'I think that young chap's turning silly.' 'I hope not,' said the schoolmaster, 'for he's a handy feller out of doors, and worth his meat and drink, anyway. I should think he'd have wit enough for us, though, if he was. But come, let's have supper, for I'm hungry and tired, and want to get to bed.' This reminder brought in an exclusive steak for Mr. Squeers, who speedily proceeded to do it ample justice. Nicholas drew up his chair, but his appetite was effectually taken away. 'How's the steak, Squeers?' said Mrs. S. 'Tender as a lamb,' replied Squeers. 'Have a bit.' 'I couldn't eat a morsel,' replied his wife. 'What'll the young man take, my dear?' 'Whatever he likes that's present,' rejoined Squeers, in a most unusual burst of generosity. 'What do you say, Mr. Knuckleboy?' inquired Mrs. Squeers. 'I'll take a little of the pie, if you please,' replied Nicholas. 'A very little, for I'm not hungry.' 'Well, it's a pity to cut the pie if you're not hungry, isn't it?' said Mrs. Squeers. 'Will you try a bit of the beef?' 'Whatever you please,' replied Nicholas abstractedly. 'It's all the same to me.' Mrs. Squeers looked vastly gracious on receiving this reply, and nodding to Squeers, as much as to say that she was glad to find the young man knew his station, assisted Nicholas to a slice of meat with her own fair hands. 'Ale, Squeery?' inquired the lady, winking and frowning to give him to understand that the question propounded was whether Nicholas should have ale, and not whether he, Squeers, would take any. 'Certainly,' said Squeers, re-telegraphing in the same manner. 'A glassful.' So Nicholas had a glassful, and being occupied with his own reflections, drank it, in happy innocence of all the foregone proceedings. 'Uncommon juicy steak, that,' said Squeers, as he laid down his knife and fork, after plying it in silence for some time. 'It's prime meat,' rejoined his lady. 'I bought a good large piece of it myself, on purpose for—' 'For what?' exclaimed Squeers hastily. 'Not for the—' 'Oh, no, no, not for them,' rejoined Mrs. Squeers. 'On purpose for you, against you came home. Lor, you didn't think I could have made such a mistake as that?' 'Upon my word, my dear, I didn't know what you were going to say,' said Squeers, who turned pale. 'You needn't make yourself uncomfortable,' remarked his wife, laughing heartily. 'To think that I should be such a noddy! Well!' This part of the conversation was rather unintelligible, but popular rumour in the neighbourhood asserted that Mr. Squeers, being amiably opposed to cruelty to animals, not unfrequently purchased for consumption the bodies of horned cattle who had died a natural death. Possibly he was apprehensive of having unintentionally devoured some choice morsel intended for the young gentleman. Supper being over, and removed by a small servant girl with a hungry eye, Mrs. Squeers retired to lock it up, and also to take into safe custody the clothes of the 5 boys who had just arrived, and who were half way up the troublesome flight of steps which leads to death's door, in consequence of exposure to the cold. They were then regaled with a light supper of porridge, and stowed away side by side in a small bedstead to warm each other, and dream of a substantial meal with something hot after it, if their fancies set that way, which it is not at all improbable they did. Mr. Squeers treated himself to a stiff tumbler of brandy and water, made on the liberal half and half principle, allowing for the dissolution of the sugar; and his amiable helpmate mixed Nicholas the ghost of a small glassful of the same compound. This done, Mr. and Mrs. Squeers drew close up to the fire, and sitting with their feet on the fender, talked confidentially in whispers; while Nicholas, taking up the tutor's assistant, read the interesting legends in the miscellaneous questions, and all the figures into the bargain, with as much thought or consciousness of what he was doing as if he had been in a magnetic slumber. At length, Mr. Squeers yawned fearfully, and opined that it was high time to go to bed; upon which signal Mrs. Squeers and the girl dragged in a small straw mattress and a couple of blankets, and arranged them into a couch for Nicholas. We'll put you into your regular bedroom tomorrow, Nickleby,' said Squeers. 'Let me see. Who sleeps in Brooks's bed, my dear?' 'In Brooks's?' said Mrs. Squeers, pondering. 'There's Jennings, Little Boulder, Greymarsh, and what's his name?' 'So there is,' rejoined Squeers. 'Yes, Brooks is full.' 'Full?' thought Nicholas. 'I should think he was.' 'There's a place somewhere, I know,' said Squeers, 'but I can't at this moment call to mind where it is. However, we'll have that all settled tomorrow. Good night, Nickleby. 7 o'clock in the morning, mind.' 'I shall be ready, sir,' replied Nicholas. 'Good night.' 'I'll come in myself and show you where the well is,' said Squeers. 'You'll always find a little bit of soap in the kitchen window. That belongs to you.' Nicholas opened his eyes, but not his mouth, and Squeers was again going away, when he once more turned back. 'I don't know, I'm sure,' he said, 'whose towel to put you on; but if you'll make shift with something tomorrow morning, Mrs. Squeers will arrange that in the course of the day. My dear, don't forget.' 'I'll take care,' replied Mrs. Squeers, 'and mind YOU take care, young man, and get first wash. The teacher ought always to have it, but they get the better of him if they can.' Mr. Squeers then nudged Mrs. Squeers to bring away the brandy bottle, lest Nicholas should help himself in the night; and the lady having seized it with great precipitation, they retired together. Nicholas, being left alone, took half a dozen turns up and down the room, in a condition of much agitation and excitement, but growing gradually calmer, sat himself down in a chair, and mentally resolved that, come what come might, he would endeavour for a time to bear whatever wretchedness might be in store for him, and that, remembering the helplessness of his mother and sister, he would give his uncle no plea for deserting them in their need. Good resolutions seldom fail of producing some good effect in the mind from which they spring. He grew less desponding, and, so sanguine and buoyant is youth, even hoped that affairs at Dotheboys Hall might yet prove better than they promised. He was preparing for bed, with something like renewed cheerfulness, when a sealed letter fell from his coat pocket. In the hurry of leaving London, it had escaped his attention, and had not occurred to him since, but it at once brought back to him the recollection of the mysterious behaviour of Newman Noggs. 'Dear me,' said Nicholas, 'what an extraordinary hand!' It was directed to himself, was written upon very dirty paper, and in such cramped and crippled writing as to be almost illegible. After great difficulty and much puzzling, he contrived to read as follows: 'My dear young man, I know the world. Your father did not, or he would not have done me a kindness when there was no hope of return. You do not, or you would not be bound on such a journey. If you ever want a shelter in London, don't be angry at this. I once thought I never should. They know where I live, at the sign of the Crown, in Silver Street, Golden Square. It is at the corner of Silver Street and James Street, with a bar door both ways. You can come at night. Once nobody was ashamed. Never mind that. It's all over. Excuse errors. I should forget how to wear a whole coat now. I've forgotten all my old ways. My spelling may have gone with them. Newman Noggs. P.S. If you should go near Barnard Castle, there is good ale at the King's Head. Say you know me, and I'm sure they will not charge you for it. You may say Mr. Noggs there, for I was a gentleman then. I was indeed. It may be a very undignified circumstance to record, but after he had folded this letter and placed it in his pocket book, Nicholas Nickleby's eyes were dimmed with a moisture that might have been taken for tears. End of chapter 7.